to another video. This one we're going to be talking about the Horus Heresy Shit Show Edition. And yeah, the memes have been legendary. The comments have been wild. Yeah, let's just talk about the Horus Heresy drama. So if you've been living under a rock for the last 36 hours, you'd have probably missed the fact that the Horus Heresy rules for 3rd edition have leaked. And to be completely blunt, they're wank. Yeah, and it's gone down like a fart in a lift, to be completely honest. The community at the moment are wild. We have had content creators like Pardo being attacked because no idea. We've got ratioed posts all over social media. I've just woke up today from being on nights and turned on my phone and looked at one of the latest Heresy Facebook posts by the community team, and I think out of all of the comments on that entire post there was one positive. The rest were like literal full-on angry people. So yeah, let's jump into it and talk about it. So basically what has happened is everything is leaked. Okay, we've got the Legion rules, we've got everything in, and it's leaked. And the biggest problem is there are a lot of issues with the Libra books and how to build an army and everything else. Entire units have disappeared, such as the destroyers. There is a really funny part, and some of this is, I think, an error, not necessarily intended. So I do think there's going to be a large FAQ that will come very quickly once this box set and the rules come out to start fixing some of these issues. But if you look at likes of the Tartarus Terminators not being able to use Power Fists, even though the plastic kit comes with Power Fists, you have the Varangier Terminators for the Space Wolves that have absolutely no options whatsoever. There are in like your consuls and your praetors have literally been stripped back and locked into what that model can have. So basically, as an example, if you bought the Loyalist Legion champion, that guy is only going to be able to use a combi weapon and a power sword. That's it. Doesn't matter how you convert your Legion champion or what you've done to your Legion champion based on 2nd edition. In 3rd edition, he is going to be locked into what that model has equipped. Now, a lot of people have come out and said, well, this is obviously due to the fact that the Chapter House Studios lawsuit that happened many, many, many years ago has now affected the Horus Heresy, which, if that was the case, that would have affected 2nd edition. 3 years ago, 5 years ago when they wrote it, but it hasn't. They're only using this on the 2nd. So this is a conscious decision by Games Workshop to limit the options and the kit bashing for whatever reason. They could quite easily keep them in because they have done in the previous edition. The one that is currently playable, the one that is on my shelf right there, has all of the options for your units. So yeah, it's an absolute mess. It's been funny. The memes have been legendary. And I have not seen a backlash to a game system this bad since the death of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Now, obviously, the game's still going to sell. The box set will still sell because GW Marketing are very good at doing what they do. But I think in the long term, this is going to have a massive lasting effect on the Heresy as a whole, because I don't think your long-term veteran players who have probably been playing since 1st edition are going to be buying into this edition. What you could essentially have is people just having mass exodus of the game and just going to even staying with 2nd edition or going back to 1st edition or going off to playing one of the fan-made editions that are getting done right now. I believe Outer Circle is creating his own version of the Horus Heresy. And what this has basically done is fractured the community to a point where it's broken. Now, I do think that this is partly down to the fact that the Horus Heresy is a victim of its own success. I think 2nd edition was, by and large, received very positively and was a very good edition. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, it had issues, but issues that could have been easily rectified and fixed. without actually doing a major overhaul to the rules. And we're going to get into some of the comments from the designer team in a second, just to reinforce why there is so much toxicity and drama and hatred towards this edition. But I do think that by and large, second edition was received well. And I think the issue is that the Heresy players essentially have been left alone for 13 years. They haven't really been involved or sort of affected by the overall arcing GW studio and their micromanagement of everything. And by and large, Horus Heresy is just ticked along quite nicely. First edition was, what, like 10 years, and it was very much left alone. They had the odd little books, they had the little rules update, but more and more, it kind of just did its own thing. And was quite successful in that. Then second edition come, all those new plastic kits, was really, really good. And second edition was a decent system. And I think it grew in popularity, that it has now become a victim of its own success. GW have realised, wow, this is actually quite good. Or have they? And then they've jumped in and to do some major changes. The fact that they were working on Saturnine before the original Age of Darkness box launched, so they've been working on the Saturnine Terminators for about 5 years. Kind of shows that they were potentially going to be coming out in second edition, or that at some point they've decided to do a new edition. And I got a feeling that because it was selling so well, that they've decided to do a new edition. And yeah, that's probably the reason. But yeah, we're going to have a little look at some of the comments now. So I think one of the biggest culprits for so much of the hatred, other than the actual leaks itself, is this Horus Heresy Roundtable article that they did a few days ago. And basically, I'm just going to go straight to this sentence here. By Neil, the lead writer, is probably the reason why there is so much shit right now being directed at GW, is because of this. And I comment, and I quote, "There won't be much that changes how your current army works." Well, by going by the leaks of the books and the rule books and the Libra books, we can firmly and can confidently say bullshit on this statement. You might need to add another Centurion for the new Force Organization chart, but that's about it. Instead, we've had more opportunity to explore weapons. You haven't explored weapons at all. You've removed weapons, complete weapon options and everything else. And I think this comment alone, this little paragraph by Neil, the lead writer, is kind of shown it. And this is why a lot of people are saying it's a bait and switch, because they've said one thing and they've proceeded to literally do completely the opposite. And I think that's the reason why. My personal take is that I'm not invested in this. I've no interest in getting into third edition whatsoever. I was working on a little Heresy project, and heard rumblings of a third edition and was like, I'll hold off to see what's going on, even though I was naively hoped that third edition wasn't happening, that it was just a box set for second edition and maybe a little rules tweak, but that's about it. A full-blown edition was something that I wasn't really hoping for. But yeah, my small Heresy project, or getting into Heresy, is completely dead in the water. I have absolutely zero interest in doing anything with third edition. I already play 40k. I don't need another game that's like 40k. And as I've said in previous videos, that is exactly what this is. My 2 cents is this, that this edition is terrible. The Force Organization chart, or how army construction worked, is absolutely horrible. It is a step backwards, not a step forwards. Like 40k is very much freeing. You can pretty much do what you want, but there are limitations in that. It's very simple to use. It's pretty easy to in fact, you pick a detachment. That's all your rules that you need. And then you build your army, and your guys go into units, and they give buffs, and that's very much it. Horus Heresy, I watched Rob at Horus, the Heresy Hammers show, his video about, and it was like, seriously, the fact that you have to make a 30-minute video on explaining how to build an army now kind of shows how convoluted and fucking stupid this is. So no, that was a major turn off for me straight away. The way they've changed challenges is just, I don't like gambits. I think they're stupid. They're a gimmick. I think they're not good. I'm not a big fan of that, and it's quite amusing seeing a lot of elements that they've brought into 30k, which are very clear renamed versions of the same rules from 40k. Likes of battle line units, I've got technically you've now got OC for objective holding. And line units, battle line units pretty much do the same, but they kind of give it an additional way of earning victory points. They've kind of brought things in. The damage profiles for weapons is basically, directly out of Age of Sigmar and 40k. I love the nostalgia bit of the, hey look, we've got stat profiles from Rogue Trader. The vast majority of the kids that are buying into the Heresy have no idea what Rogue Trader is. They listen and hear these stories of Rogue Trader, and it's pure nostalgia bait. In fact, in the article that I just shown, they actually make a comment about nostalgia. It isn't just for nostalgic reasons why they've done this. And yeah, in a way, the way they describe it, of saying that they've done it so a Praetor isn't an overarching character that can do everything, that they have broken this down into multiple things. So certain characters are good at certain elements and doing certain things, like a Tech Marine is good at doing things like intelligence-based stuff. A Psyker is good at doing willpower-based stuff, which makes more sense. Yes, I get it, and that thematic feel of that rule does work. But when you then lock the choices for these consoles in based on the models, that's when you have a problem. You've give players this really cool element, but you've then shit on them when it comes to the actual miniature and the overriding rules for the rest of the unit, which is kind of not good. So there are some elements of 3rd edition which are pretty interesting, but then on the flip side, the vast majority of it is just dog shit. They've basically tried to keep the system as much as they can. They've increased like weapons damage output. They've give vehicles a few more hull points. Not that they still haven't fixed the issue with hull points, which is the fact that you've give vehicles wounds, but you haven't give vehicles armor saves. So vehicles are still dog shit. Vehicles are still not going to be as effective as they were. In fact, you've penalised them more with the new damage table. And it's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. Like, a lot of content creators have talked about this yesterday. I watched Valrak's video. Valrak's was quite reserved. He's all for the new game and everything else and the new miniatures, but the restriction of options is something that is bad, and I agree. Although I play 40k and Age of Sigmar, or I did play Age of Sigmar, and there is very few options there. I mean, if you buy Ragnar Blackmane or a model like that, you're limited to that options. As an example, here's my Bloodcore pack leader. He comes with the option of having a pistol, either bull pistol or plasma pistol, and a power weapon. The power weapon is either going to be an axe or a lightning claw. It's purely cosmetic how that weapon is going to work in the game. The rules are the same. It's a power weapon. It makes no difference. But they could have gone down that element with the Heresy, but they haven't. They've literally just removed options. Now, how I think this is probably going to be addressed in the future is I do believe that there will be a absolute humongous FAQ that will follow once this drops in a couple of weeks. Because there has to be an element. I'm going to give GW the benefit of the doubt that some of these options that are in the books are absolutely just wrong and they need FAQ'd. And if that's the case, then this shows problems in the design studio, and it kind of will emphasize my issue before talking about 3rd edition of why I don't think the specialist design team can do this every 3 years. It's because they don't have the time and the resources to make sure everything is correct. And this will be telling. If we get an FAQ within a couple of weeks, that kind of indicates to me that the main design team are the ones dealing with this, or the specialist design team that are dealing with this are the ones jumping on this straight away to fix it. If it takes them a lot longer than a couple of weeks, then it's very much under the specialist design team, and they're going to struggle to FAQ this. And I think this is going to be the nail in the coffin for the Heresy. I don't think this is going to be as successful edition as DW hoped. I think this is going to not sell as well. I think the models will sell, but I don't think the edition as a whole will sell as well as previous editions, and I think that you will slowly see the Heresy dip off in popularity over the next few years. And I think when they come around to doing 4th edition in a couple of years' time, they will do a radical return on what they've just done to try to readdress that and try to get the fans back into it. I wouldn't be surprised if about 18 months in, we don't see a massive return with the Arcane Journals. Sorry, flavorable journals, because basically they are Arcane Journals from the old world. Bringing in more flavour and more options into the game. Maybe bringing those units like Destroyers back to the game. And what's quite funny is on social media right now, they've got a post about the Raven Guard, and in the bottom left-hand corner of one of the photos is an actual Legion Destroyer, which technically, according to the current rules, doesn't exist. There's people with armies that are just destroyers that have just been wiped out just like that. So yeah, you can. Games Workshop have done this multiple times. I remember GW back in 5th edition had two articles over the course of 2 months in White Dwarf talking about Chaos and Demons, Chaos Space Marines and Demons, and how they were going to split these two factions into 2 separate books. Up until that, Chaos worked with the amazing 4th edition Chaos Space Marine Codex, which was probably by far the greatest version of the Chaos Space Marine Codex that they've ever had. And you ask any veteran player, they will have fond memories of that book because it was peak Chaos Space Marine loveliness. Jervis Johnson made some articles talking about how they were going to split Chaos Space Marines and Demons into 2 factions, and how it was going to work, and how it was going to be amazing, and then you were essentially getting 2 new armies that could intertwine and interwork and interjoin with each other. And then when the books come out, that's not what happened. You had Chaos Demons, which were a faction in their own right. Then you had Chaos Space Marines, who had lesser demons, and they didn't even have access to the full demon range, and greater demons weren't even available in their army. And the Chaos Space Marine players, fans and community were outraged by this. It was a clear bait and switch. They said one thing and then did something completely different, and it was given to us by the venerated Jervis Johnson at the time. And yeah, it wasn't great. And we had the start of this period that Chaos sucked because the codex was just so bland and non-Chaos-like. And this kind of rolled into 5th edition and just became even worse. So they've done this before, and I do remember my friend who had a very large Wordbearers army. And his Wordbearers army was quite a few Chaos Space Marines, but a lot of demons, and his entire play style was bring his Marines forward and then start bringing in the demons. And it was very thematic, and it was very Wordbearers on point. And the new codex and everything else started dropping, and he completely sold his army and has never been back to Chaos since. Purely because they screwed him. And that kind of sort of bad taste, bad sort of faith sort of like reaction is kind of what's going to happen right now. But yeah, I'm going to enjoy the ride. I'm going to enjoy the memes. I'm going to enjoy the drama. It is absolutely hilarious to see the trolling and the absolute shit show that this is. I don't know what Pardo did. Allegedly, he was accused of outing the leaker of the book. If that's the case, then who cares? You know, whatever. There's more than one person leaking stuff at this point. And yeah, it's just an absolute shit show. So I'm gonna enjoy the memes. I'm gonna enjoy the lols. I am very much intrigued about Warhammer: The Old World 2nd Edition. I wonder if the design team are going to look at the reaction of what this has just happened, and maybe rethink some of their choices that they may be doing for that edition. Because you better believe it, 2nd edition, The Old World, is going to be coming. And are they going to mess around with that game like they've just done with Heresy? Bearing in mind that they've already killed it once and brought it back after 10 years. Are they going to risk it for a biscuit and do something radical to it? We'll see. But that's the video. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share, and all that good stuff. And I will see you in the other one. Yeah, enjoy the drama, pipes. And if you are pre-ordering, enjoy your models. If you aren't pre-ordering, enjoy 2nd edition. You don't need anything. As long as you got those books, you can continue playing the game the way you want to play it. Have a good one, peeps. Goodbye for now.